Well, for me, working with Gestalt in organization, it means that we take time to look at what is beyond the, let's say, the most visible phenomena or most visible problems, most visible dynamics. What I mean by that is that many times we just focus on the problem that is arising or the change that we want to do. But behind that, there's another dynamic going on. And we call it sometimes the implicit process. And if you don't go there, it's very well possible that you are only treating symptoms of a problem, of a situation, but you do not really address the full situation. So if I give a clear example, if you do team coaching and you only look at what is going on in the room and you have in mind that they should function better, it's possible that you don't see what is, let's say, happening under the table. And Gestalt has a very specific approach to also focus on what is behind the surface. And we call that in Gestalt is to become more aware. So in Gestalt, we are not at the first place focused only on change and on result. And of course, it is important to have a result, otherwise it wouldn't work. But instead of only being focused on the result, we first like to see the process and help people become aware of the process that is going on. And from experience, and I speak of an experience from more than 50 years already, or maybe even more, is that when people become more aware of the process that is actually going on, the change is already happening in a way. So we already come to results, not by being just focused on it, but being focused on the process, helping people to see what is happening, what is maybe not functioning, what is functioning, and in that sense, making quite interesting steps, but steps that are more long-lasting than what we call the treatment of symptoms. Let me give another example from my own practice. If, for instance, there is a conflict and you just focus on the two persons who have a conflict, it might be that you, let's say, solve the conflict, but that you did not get the deeper meaning, because the conflict between the two persons can be an expression of actually a conflict in the whole organization that is going on. For instance, a difference, or let's say, actually the structure of the organization is no longer fitting the process. If a company is trying to change to a more client or customer-oriented approach, but actually the structure is still very hierarchical, it's possible that people have conflicts, but it's not about these individuals. It's about that the structure is not fitting what we actually want with the culture. So many times, also cultural change, it needs time to become much more aware of what is going on now, how are we doing it, and what is the meaning of that. So for me, that is the main let's say also benefit of Gestalt. Yeah, I think if you follow a GPO program based on Gestalt principles, you will learn exactly this approach of becoming more aware of the hidden dynamic in the organization, the process of an organization. In many courses on consultancy or coaching, it's a lot about skills. And of course, skills are important. I do not deny that. But next to skills, it's also about attitude. It's about the perspective. How do you look at things? How do you behave yourself? Typical from Gestalt approach is that we include ourselves as an instrument. And I mean by that is to learn to trust what is happening with you in your mind, the ideas that come up, but also in your feelings, in your body. For instance, you enter a room for a management team meeting and you feel really that your body is tightening up. Normally, you might neglect that, or maybe you might even try to repress it. But in the Gestalt, we learn to people, wait, what is happening to you? Very well possibly that it has to do with what is going on in the room with these managers. So that is a benefit from the course on Gestalt, is that you learn to trust your own awareness, your own sensations as being a part of the whole field, as we say. So you learn something about field theory, what is very new. And I can really say in other courses on coaching or managing or consulting, you will not hear about field theory. And that is very specific for the Gestalt. Another thing is that as a Gestalt coach or as a Gestalt consultant, you try to stay out of judgment. And this is also something that you really have a benefit when you do this Gestalt course, that you learn to, let's say, to put your judgments aside, to be open for what is happening, and to have more deeper insight. And very specific, we will handle topics like how to deal with power and conflicts, how to deal with leadership, what kind of leadership, how to deal with diversity, because nowadays in every country, the organization is much more diverse than we think. And I'm not only speaking about diversity in the sense of people from different countries, but also diversity, men, women, young, older people, diversity in also in thinking. People are more straightforward, others are more process-oriented. Elements, you learn to appreciate the differences and in that sense to benefit from the diversity. So these are some outcomes, and a specific thing that I want to mention, that in the course there's also the possibility, and we really stimulate participants to go as a small group to an organization, to do practical work there and to bring that outcome back into the group. And we will discuss it, we will feedback. So next to theory and practicing with each other in the group, you will also practice in organizations and get feedback on that. And that gives a very specific extra dimension. So these are just some examples.